What's up guys, today we'll be going over the new god roll Tranquility, which is now the second sniper rifle in the game with fire in line, and the god roll is field prep, then fire in line, then also mag increase and backup mag to get a 7 magazine. And this is a 90 RPM sniper just like the Sole Survivor, which is the only other sniper rifle in the game with fire in line also, and this one can get triple tap or 4th times the charm in the other slot, then also another mag increase. I have the exact same extended mag with a backup mag on it. Once again, 7 magazine, 90 RPM. And like mentioned, these are the only two with fire in line, but Tranquility is a kinetic and can only roll field prep fire in line because 4th times the charm is in the same slot as fire in line compared to Sole Survivor where they're in 2 different slots. So this will be a really good comparison of 2 pretty different sniper rifles and the way they increase their damage and DPS. First, looking at the damage on Greg without fire in line, Tranquility hits 19.5 thousand, then Sole Survivor hits 18.5 thousand. Since Tranquility is a kinetic, it automatically has 5% more damage just because of the fact kinetics do more damage than energy weapons in this game. Now with fire in line, they both will get the same increase of damage. Tranquility now hits just under 24,000 and Sole Survivor now hits 22.8 thousand, and they're both 23% increases with fire in line, which is down from 25% before. When they tweaked the snipers, I think it changed it slightly. Now we're going to start breaking down the DPS of these two weapons, and they both increase their damage per second in 2 very different ways. One is by increasing the reload speed, and the other one is increasing the amount of shots you can shoot before you need to reload. So they're 2 different ways of increasing that reload speed, and since both of them have a reload masterwork, I went ahead and maxed them both out so they're exact same, and they both have extended mags. So this one will be about as fair as possible. So first with Tranquility shooting off 2 magazines, we're going to do 2 magazines with both. This one I'll say is field prep for that really quick reload speed while crouching. Took 10.05 seconds, which means the DPS is 33.4 thousand, which is actually pretty good for a legendary sniper rifle in the game. Now we're going to do the same thing with Sole Survivor with triple tap. So now we can shoot 10 shots straight without having to reload. And since there's not many enemies I can test this on, I went ahead and just spliced 2 clips together and timed it perfectly frame by frame. So it'd be exactly as if I shot 20 shots straight, and it's pretty much representing what that would look like. And that took 16.2 seconds, which means the DPS is 28,181, which is quite a bit lower than Tranquility, which is because it's not kinetic, so it's losing that 5%. And also that reload is just very, very slow. So what happens if we start increasing the reload speed by putting on sniper rifle loader, then also we can put on Luna faction boots and pretty much max out the reload speed for both. Obviously Tranquility won't change too much because field prep pretty much already maxes out the reload speed, so we shouldn't notice that big of an increase. Now it takes 9.8 seconds, so slightly quicker, meaning 34,240 DPS, so an increase of less than 1,000, so not that much. But now we should see a big increase with the Sole Survivor because of the fact that its base reload is so much slower. So it should make up a lot of ground on the Tranquility, and just like I did before, I spliced multiple clips together to make it represent what it'd be like because of the fact that I can't test 20 shots straight. Now that took 14.1 seconds, meaning the DPS is now 32,300, which is much closer to that of the Tranquility. So as you stack more and more reload perks, the DPS should get closer and closer, but what about the total damage output? With no reserves, Tranquility holds 24 because of field prep, then the Sole Survivor only holds 20. So we just look at the total damage based on that. The Tranquility will obviously have more total damage output because of that 5% more damage, then also 4 more bullets at 575,000, while the Sole Survivor is at 450,000. But that's not very fair because with triple tap or 4 times the charm, every time you proc the perk, it is not from reserves, it is from thin air on legendary snipers. So that means every single time we shoot off an entire magazine with triple tap, we get 3 free bullets. So we're pretty much shooting 10 per magazine. And with the normal reserves, you have 20 ammo, which would mean just under 3 magazines, but just for the purpose of the math, let's say you have 3 magazines, more than likely you'd be using a reserve perk anyways, so with 3 magazines, you can shoot 30 total bullets with Sole Survivor now, which means its total damage output is much higher than Tranquility at 684,000, so it wins out there. But that heavily relies on you hitting every single crit, so once again, they're not actually too much different in total damage output. It might come down to what setup you want to use, and they both pair really well with Anarchy. And since we haven't shown off the new Anarchy numbers since the Shadowkeep change and inflation of numbers, let's go and do that and compare it to Izanagi's Burden. Izanagi's Burden was around 50,000 DPS, so let's see if you pair these snipers with Anarchy if they can get close to that. So looking at the total damage Anarchy does the entire time the 2 chain lightnings tick, it's going to take 10.584 seconds and do a total of 176,000 damage, which means 16,636 DPS, so you can easily shoot 2 of those and swap to a sniper, and with that combo DPS, the Tranquility is over 50,000, while Soul Survivor is at 48.9 thousand, so they're actually very close to Izanagi's, pretty much right on par. Another thing separating these two is the fact they're in 2 different slots, which means you might choose one over the other based on which weapons you want to use and how it works in your build. For example, I prefer Recluse because of my whole Voidwalker build, and obviously Recluse is pretty much the best primary, so I prefer that, and that's why I actually prefer Tranquility overall. But let's say you have Soul Survivor and you don't have the Tranquility, well, there are different options, and based on what you like, you might like one of those kinetic hand cannons. Because of that reason, you might want to use Soul Survivor over Tranquility. So there's a lot of factors that might influence your decision of which one to use, but for me, I definitely give Tranquility the tick or best possible build. So there's a lot of things going on here. First off, Tranquility's DPS is a little bit higher than Soul Survivor's just because of the fact that the reload is that much quicker. But with Soul Survivor, with triple tap, you can get way more damage output if you don't miss any shots. But once again, that's heavily relying on the fact that you don't miss at all. And if you miss one shot or even multiple shots, you're going to start missing triple tap procs or 4 times the charm procs, which are even harder. And once you start missing those, the advantage of Soul Survivor is pretty much out the window, and you pretty much have the same weapon as Tranquility without the quicker reload. So Tranquility with field prep is definitely a safer bet and a lot more consistent compared to the triple tap Soul Survivor, which might have a higher damage ceiling, but has way more risk and potentially could be worse overall. Now keep in mind that total damage output of Soul Survivor, once again, is relying on all those triple tap procs. If you don't proc any, then you have less total damage output than Tranquility. So overall, Tranquility is definitely the safer bet in almost every situation. Then the fact that it can pair with something like Recluse is also another check mark in my books why it's better, but depending on what you want to use, that might not be true for you. Also, it might just come down to which ones you have. If you already have a God Roll Soul Survivor, Tranquility's DPS isn't that much higher where, you're going to necessarily need to grind for that new role. You can still use Soul Survivor and be good in almost every situation. With that being said though, Tranquility is definitely a lot easier to farm than Soul Survivor. If you don't have either of them, I would definitely go for Tranquility. Farming it from the moon is definitely way more efficient than playing Reckoning and getting RNG drops. So definitely go for Tranquility if you don't have either. It's going to be a little bit better DPS and also pretty much the same damage output depending on how accurate you are. And yeah, I think that's all I got to say about the comparison between Tranquility and Soul Survivor. Now to touch on those two versus Izanagi's Burden, I found it pretty interesting that they are actually pretty similar DPS and kind of pretty similar damage outputs. But the thing is, you're using 2 weapons in the Tranquility plus Anarchy build compared to the one of Izanagi's Burden. So obviously with Izanagi's Burden, you can also use something like Wendigo or something like that, which will also increase your total damage output. So it's not the most fair comparison in the world, but it's pretty interesting that they're actually pretty even. Overall, I found this video very interesting to make because of the fact that you have 2 snipers that seem pretty similar, but they're getting their damage increase, or DPS increase I should say, by 2 very different methods. I find that very interesting to see which one kind of edges out the other. And I hope you guys enjoyed that and learned something new. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.